Hi, I'm Brandon Grant, Marketing Director here at QuoteWerks. Today we're going to talk about and demonstrate our latest product release, QuoteWerks Web. We're incredibly excited to offer this solution to our users as it provides even more flexibility to utilize the power of QuoteWerks through the web browser. Before we get started, there's just a couple keynotes and features we want to discuss and introduce to you. First, QuoteWerks Web is an add-on to QuoteWerks Desktop. This means we're going to use the existing licensing and features you already have, such as real-time, Eatalize, and Quote Valet. They'll just be accessible through your web browser in QuoteWerks Web. Additionally, this means that you're going to utilize the existing system settings you have already set, such as security settings, templates, layouts, and more. We've designed QuoteWerks Web specifically to work this way, so you're not having to reset up your users and have anything fall through the cracks, such as security settings that might be set for specific users. It's just going to utilize all those existing system settings that you already have in place. Pricing-wise, QuoteWerks Web is only $10 per user per month. Since this is an add-on, this means you do not have to repurchase a completely new system to take advantage of QuoteWerks Web. Additionally, no one will be forced into using it. If you only need a couple reps or only want a couple of your reps to utilize QuoteWerks Web, you can buy licenses just for the amount of users you need to access QuoteWerks Web. One of the major key features of QuoteWerks Web is the ability to use your existing data. This is very important because it means there are no migration costs or complicated imports, syncing, exporting, anything like that that's required. Instead, QuoteWerks Web will tie directly into your existing QuoteWerks database and lets you not only edit existing documents, but also create new ones that are available immediately in QuoteWerks Desktop. So since one of the key features of QuoteWerks Web is access to the existing database, you need to be able to host that data somewhere. QuoteWerks has a couple options for you. The first is the QuoteWerks Database Hosting Service. You can contact one of the QuoteWerks sales reps and they can set you up with pricing and instructions on how to get that started. You'll also be able to host the data yourself if you'd like on your own on-premise SQL server, or if you wanted to sign up with a third-party hosting provider, you'll be able to go that route as well. And finally, QuoteWerks Web has a full ConnectWise integration, including support for contacts, opportunities, tickets, the ConnectWise price list, and much more. If it's in the QuoteWerks Desktop integration with ConnectWise, it's also available in QuoteWerks Web. So let's get started. We'll begin inside of ConnectWise. Because QuoteWerks Web is accessed via your web browser, you can actually set up QuoteWerks Web to run inside of ConnectWise. So if I click on my sales menu, you'll see I have my sales menu options in ConnectWise, and then I can click on QuoteWerks Web. This will open the login screen for QuoteWerks Web. To log into QuoteWerks Web, simply add in your tenant account number, your username that you use for QuoteWerks as well as Quote Valet, and your QuoteWerks password. Once logged into QuoteWerks Web, you'll be brought to the QuoteWerks Web home screen. You have a couple options for getting started here. In the center of the window, you'll see you have the option to start with a brand new quote, new order, new invoice, or you can select from your list of existing templates. You can also access any existing documents that you've worked on recently. For example, we'll just go ahead and create a new blank document. So we'll select new quote, and then we'll give the quote a name. And for this one, we'll call it our products and services example. And I'll click create, and then I'll create a blank document in QuoteWerks Web. As you add items, make changes to the document, you'll start to see notifications in the bottom right corner, letting you know that action has completed successfully. The interface for QuoteWerks Web should have a similar feel to QuoteWerks Desktop, but there are a couple differences that we will discuss first. On the left-hand side, you'll see we have our navigation panel. This is where you can kind of get around and navigate through QuoteWerks Web quickly by utilizing these shortcuts. Clicking on the documents, that will bring up the document search window where you can search for your existing quotes, orders, invoices, or all of your documents. So you have the ability to search by document name, number, salesperson, and company. Clicking on the products menu, you'll see you have the option to search for your items in your product databases. In this case, ConnectWise, we have a demo items database and the default our products. We also have access to Eatalize from here, which we'll get to in just a few minutes. And finally, the last menu option will be the contacts menu, where you can search in ConnectWise based on the company name, first name, last name, or phone number. If we go back to the Workspace option, you'll see this will bring you to a very familiar interface where we have our QuoteWerks tabs of document items, where your products and services will be listed, sold to, shipped to, where you can pull your customer contact information directly from ConnectWise into QuoteWerks, your sale info tab, which would be your document-specific information such as the document date, tax rates, sales rep and prepared by fields, as well as the expiration dates, your notes field, where you can add default customer notes to include in your document, the custom tab, where you can add those custom fields and fill out those custom field information that you need, the links tab, where you can view any links, and then the Quote Valet tab will be available once we've uploaded this document to Quote Valet. So let's go ahead and walk through the process of creating this new document and adding items to it. So just like in QuoteWerks Desktop, we begin on the Sold to, Shipped to tab. I'm going to click on the magnifying glass under Sold to, and you'll see it'll automatically redirect us to the Contacts menu option in our navigation panel to bring us in here so we can search for our ConnectWise contact. I'm going to search for contact by company name, and I'll just search for our company, which is Aspire Technologies. And then once you've located your contact, you simply need to highlight them and then make the selection. You'll see you have the option to pull that contact into the Sold to, Shipped to, Billed to, or All fields on your Sold to, Shipped to tab. Once I've selected that, you'll see I'll have a confirmation message at the bottom right corner of my window. So if we go back to our workspace, we'll see the contact has been pulled into our Sold to, Shipped to, and Billed to fields. Now we can begin building our document in QuoteWerks. So we're going to go back to our Document Items tab and right-click in the Document Items tab window, and we'll add a new section header. So for this example, we'll call it Hardware, and I'll hit OK. And that'll add our new Hardware section header, and then I'm going to add another one for Services, and then one more for Optional Items. And we'll go ahead and we'll just delete this extra line here. Now that we have our items or our section headers on the document, we can move forward to adding items on the document. To do that, you can either click on the Products Lookup menu option or click on the Products shortcut on the navigation panel. If you click on the Products Lookup window, you'll see it'll bring us to the Product Database window. From here, we can search for items in ConnectWise, our Demo Items database, or our Products database. So we'll demonstrate searching for item in ConnectWise first. I'm going to click on my description field, type in the word Cisco, and click Find. I'll see my results here. I have 125 items that match that description, and I'm just going to select one or two of them here just to add to my document, and then simply hold Control on my keyboard just like I would in QuoteWerks Desktop. That'll highlight them, and then I can add these selected products to the current document. I'll get my confirmation message in the right there. Now Eatalize will have a little bit of a different look to it, so we're going to walk through that as well. In my search for box, just like you would in QuoteWerks, you would search for the item that you're looking for. So if I type in Trip Light Switch, hit enter on my keyboard, that's going to bring back over 5,000 results. So what I want to do is use my filtering options down here in the left column to actually narrow down my results. So if I click on switch boxes, that'll narrow it down to 130 results. So it's much better than 5,000. And then we can drill down even further if we go into like the product family, go to Net Commander, that'll break it down to 11 items total. So this will be a little bit more manageable of a list to kind of go through here. So on the right hand side, I have my results, and this is going to be set up a little differently than what you're used to seeing, but it's going to be some nice functionality that's in here that's not available in QuoteWerks Desktop. So for instance, we have our option for our workspace. If I click on workspace and I click a couple of these for these items, you'll see they've been selected and then they're now added to the workspace tab. The workspace tab is a great place to add other items or items that you're working with or you're searching for, so you can come back to them later and utilize them later. This will actually save them in the workspace until you log out of QuoteWerks Web. So if you've done a search or you're creating multiple documents that are utilizing the same or similar items, you can actually save these items to the workspace and they'll be available to use later on while you're creating these new documents in QuoteWerks. It's a little different functionality than the favorites, where the favorites permanently save it. The workspace just saves it while you're in that session in QuoteWerks Web. So if we go back to our search window here, we then have the option to use the compare window as well. So I'll go ahead and add these items to the compare window. We can favorite an item just by clicking on the little heart icon there. And then we can get into our pricing and availability by clicking on the lightning bolt icon, just like we would in QuoteWerks Desktop. Once your pricing loads, you'll see the option for the various distributors that you've set up in QuoteWerks. And if you hover over the availability, you'll actually see the warehouse breakdown for each of these particular vendors. So in this case, Tech Data has 39 vendor direct, and they have the best price because it's in green. So I might want to select this item from Tech Data. Click select, and you'll see it's added to my current document. If I wanted to close this window, I can use the collapse button to close this window. Or if I wanted to add an accessory, so for instance, if I wanted to include like a connector cable here, I can click on the icon, retrieve my pricing and availability for this item, and then choose which vendor I want to select it from. Looks like Ingram Micro has the best pricing, so I'll go ahead and select it from Ingram Micro and add that one to the document. And you can repeat as necessary for any of the other items that you want to sell. You also see you have the option for the similar items and the upsell item tabs available here. So if I wanted to get pricing on another item, I could collapse this window, just make it a little easier to view. And then I could use the same kind of steps to find pricing on this particular item and choose which vendor I want to source it from. Now this vendor is not actually carried by any of my distributors. So one of the new features in Utilize is the ability to hide this from future searches. So if I click on this gold icon here, that'll actually remove that item from my search results. Again, making it much easier to only see and view the items and actually pull pricing from the items that my distributors currently carry. All right, so let's go over to the Workspace column here, the Workspace tab. On the Workspace tab, you'll see any items that I've added to the Workspace tab will be here, and I can get my pricing and availability. Like I said, the big advantage of the Workspace tab here is that these items will be saved from this search. So if I start a brand new search in QuoteWerks with a brand new document, I'll still have access to these items in this Workspace tab. The compare window is the same compare window functionality you have in QuoteWerks Desktop. So that'll open up here so I can compare these items more easily across one another. So if I wanted to get my pricing and availability across these three items, see which one has best pricing for these particular items, I can see and I can easily compare my vendors. I can even remove this item here since it's not supported by my vendors and just see only the items that are currently supported by my vendor. The compare functionality will highlight in yellow the differences between the items, so it makes it really easy for you to know the difference between the two. And then if I wanted to select or add one of these items to my document, you simply hit the select button there, or the select link, and that will add that item to this particular document in QuoteWerks. The last tab in Utilize is going to be the Favorites tab. This is where you can permanently store items that you sell on a regular basis. So instead of having to search for this particular item, maybe it's an item you sell on a regular basis, you can actually store it here so you have access to it. To remove an item from the favorites, you simply click on the delete icon here all the way to the right, and that'll remove it from your favorites list moving forward. The favorites list is a per user list, so each user can customize and have their own favorites list stored in Utilize. So if we go back to our product database here, we can go into our demo items and we'll go ahead and just add a couple of other items into the document just so we have a couple other items in here. So we'll select this item and choose a VPN license just to have a little bit of variety in there. And then now we can go back to our workspace and we'll see we have all these items and our new section headers that we added, but everything needs to be organized. So one of the really nice features about QuoteWerks Web is it's really easy to drag and drop items around. So for instance, if I wanted to move our hardware section to the top, just drag it up to the top and it'll move it there. Now I have my section headers in the correct order. I can then select one of my hardware items. So I can easily drag one of my hardware items and choose where I want it to appear in my document. I can do this for multiple items as well. So if I want to select maybe this item and this item, we can move multiple items as well. Then I'll move those two items there. If you wanted to move non-contiguous items, so if you have maybe a product here, and even though it's not a product, we'll just use this for an example, I can move these items in here as well, and it'll move those two items for me. So it makes it really easy to maneuver the items around. So I'm just going to quickly move the rest of these into their proper order. So we'll get our labor in there, and then we'll go ahead and we'll move this this one down here to the bottom of our document. All right. So now that I have my items organized where I need them to be, I can make any changes to them that I would need. So if I need to change an item's description, you can actually click on an item, and if you double click, you'll see the entire item's description, so I can make any adjustments. So for this one, I wanted to just shorten it. I can simplify it, click out, and then the description will be updated for this particular item. We also have the option to toggle the item description from the grid window here. So if I click on the toggle description panel, it's actually open up a panel at the bottom of my quote here. And this will let me make changes to this particular description. And then the really nice thing is, as I select other items, their description will be available here. So I can make multiple changes to these items' descriptions just by clicking the description instead of having to type in each one and tab out of it. So it can save a lot of time when you need to make changes to multiple descriptions in a single instance of a doc. And to turn the panel off, you simply need to toggle the panel back, and it'll go back to the way it was. In addition to the toggle description panel icon, we also have the toggle the item panel. This will show you a list of all the columns that are available for that particular item, arranged vertically rather than horizontally like you see here on the Document Items tab. You also have the option to change the filter. So by default, they're filtered by name or alphabetically, but if we uncheck that, they'll actually be ordered in the same order they are on the Document Items tab. So if you want to make some changes, you can. So for instance, if I wanted to adjust this item's item type from product to service, maybe we want to adjust the price manually and say we're going to sell it for $1,500. We can make those changes, and as we make them here, if we close out of here, they'll also be reflected on the correct column. So this will update it as we move forward and make those additional changes. Also on the grid toolbar is the ability to utilize the set dependent quantity feature. You'll actually see that these items here under services, my labor for services and my SmartNet extended service are already set that way. What this feature does is I can change the quantity of my SmartNet, and my labor will automatically be updated. To use this functionality, simply highlight an item that you want to be kind of like the master or the parent item, select the child item, and then click on Set Dependent Quantity. Put in the quantity and hit OK. And then those items are now linked, so anytime you change the quantity of this particular item, the other item will be automatically recalculated as well. In addition to the set dependent quantity feature, the line attributes are also available here. So you can click on the shortcut in the grid toolbar, or if you right click on the item, the edit line attributes window will be available there as well. From here we can set if the item is optional, tax code, hide price, quantity, exclude item, all the normal features. So if we go into our optional items here, and I wanted to go ahead and mark these items as optional, I can do that. Hit yes, is selected. You can even assign them to the mutually exclusive group if you're going to be using this specifically with Quote Valet and you want to give the customer options. That'll be available as well. Additionally, up at the top, you'll see you have the option to calculate the extended cost and extended price of either these selected items or an individual item or the entire document. So if you want to see the updated costs and price of any items, you can have QuoteWerks Web calculate that for you kind of as you move through the document. So one of the really nice features about QuoteWerks Web is the way we handle multiple documents open at the same time. So if we go into our documents option here, so let's say I wanted to search for a document. We'll say that begins with hardware. I have two options here, so let's go ahead and select this document, and we'll go ahead and we'll open it. And And the main reason for showing this example is that at the bottom you can actually see both of our quotes are open at the same time, and I can easily flip between the two different documents. You can even copy and paste between them. So if I had an item in here, maybe two items that I wanted to copy, I can right click or Control C, copy. And then if we go into our products and services example, I can right click and append paste, and those two items will now be added to this particular document. Okay, so let's go ahead and save our document so we can begin the integration with ConnectWise. So we've already selected our contacts, so we just need to click on Save. And you'll see this will bring up the Save Quote window. We'll have our document number, status, and the project number. So you do have the option to change these if you need to, just like in QuoteWerks Desktop. And then we have the ConnectWise integration options. So the option to create and update the sales opportunity, create and update the link document, create a follow-up activity, create a one-off activity, which is the same as a follow-up activity, just lets you create more than one, and then also create a service ticket or multiple tickets. And we'll go ahead and click OK. And this will bring up the opportunity window. So the create new ConnectWise opportunity window should look very familiar. You'll have the option to create an existing or create a new opportunity, or you can link to an existing opportunity if you'd like. For our example, we're just going to go ahead and create a brand new opportunity. We can set the opportunity name, which is going to be the name of the document. By default, you can set the type. In our case, we'll call it IT infrastructure, status, put in a description, close date, rating, sales stage, all the normal fields that you need. We can even set a sales rep. So let's go ahead and set our sales rep, an internal sales rep if you need to. And then you have a couple options for your forecast lines, what your forecast prefix is going to be for those, if you want to include the revenue in the total forecast, and if you want the individual items to be created in the ConnectWise opportunity. So let's go ahead and submit this to ConnectWise. And now our opportunity has been created. Now ConnectWise is prompting us to create the new activity in ConnectWise. So we can select call, select who we want to assign it to. We'll say training admin, the due date, status, put any notes in there, and then we could hit save. For this example, I'm just going to cancel out. Same thing for the ConnectWise activity. If you want to create more than one, so it's that follow-up activity and then a one-off activity, it just gives you the option to create more than one. And then for the tickets, you have the option of creating just a single ticket at this point, or we can create multiple tickets. You also have the option when we convert this quote to an order to create tickets from there as well. So this will populate all the contact and company information, set the default service boards and statuses. We can fill in the information we need, type in our ticket description, and then if I want to just create the one, click create. If I want to create multiple tickets, just click create and new. So for our example, just click create. And that'll create our service ticket in ConnectWise. So let's go into ConnectWise to take a look at our opportunity that we just created. So we can go to Sales, My Opportunities, and we'll set the close date to today. And it'll open up the opportunity because that's the only one I've created so far. And we can scroll down and we can see all our line item information is in there, so that's great. If we go to products, we'll actually see the individual products were written into the ConnectWise opportunity. Now if we go back into QuoteWerks, so back in QuoteWerks Web, we can then get ready to deliver this document to the customer. So we'll click on the Deliver button here. This will open up the Deliver window in QuoteWerks. And you'll have the same options as you do in QuoteWerks Desktop. So if you want to include a cover page, select your layout. So we'll just select one of our new layouts here. Any literature documentation, so terms and conditions, service contracts, warranty information, things like that. If you have any spec sheets associated with it, and anything from the Links tab. And from here, we can actually preview this document in QuoteValley, or preview this the PDF version of the document, email it out, or upload it to QuoteValley. We can move these around just by dragging and dropping, so it's very easy to kind of reorder the selections that you have here in your selections panel. If you want to preview it before we send it to the customer, we can actually preview the document directly from QuoteWerks Web. This will open it up in a web browser in PDF view. So you can actually see what the cover page and the document itself is going to look like before we get ready to deliver this to the customer. There is full functioning Quote Valet available as well. So you'll see there's an option to upload this document to Quote Valet. We can see the PDF preview before we send it. We can even select our Quote Valet template, and this will upload it to Quote Valet for us, and we'll receive a confirmation message down at the bottom that the document's been uploaded to Quote Valet. And we can even preview it on Quote Valet before we send it to the customer. So we can see exactly what they're going to see and make sure everything looks perfect before we send it out to them. And then if we click on Send Email, this will bring up the Send Email window in QuoteWerks Web. The Send Email window will let you send this document to the customer that you selected on the Sold to Ship to tab. You can also add other contacts under your CC or BCC options. We can drag and drop files to include in the email as well. And then the default text of your email template will be set here with the link to the Quote Valet document. And you simply need to click on Send to send this out to the customer. All right, so once the document's been sent out to the customer, if the customer makes any changes, just like they typically would in Quote Valet, and they accept it and sign off on it, you'll receive those notifications as well. After the document has been accepted, Quote Valet will let you know that the document has been accepted and ask you to convert it to an order. Or if you want to do it manually, you can do it under File, Convert to Order. Not only will this update this document as an order in QuoteWerks Web, it'll also update it on Quote Valet, and then we'll update the opportunity in ConnectWise. So when I convert this to an order, you'll see this will actually open up our ConnectWise opportunity window. We can then set it as 1. We can even change our sales stage if we want to call it a commitment. And if we need to at this point create any tickets for this particular document, we have that option. If we want to create the agreement from the opportunity or the sales order from the opportunity, we have that option as well, and simply click Submit to start that process. So once the opportunity is being converted to 1 in ConnectWise, you'll see our QuoteWerks quote is now an order in QuoteWerks as well. And then when I'm ready, I can close out of this document and I can start with a new document in QuoteWerks Web, or I can begin with an existing document. So in summary, QuoteWerks Web will have full integration with ConnectWise, is only $10 per user per month, and you only have to add QuoteWerks Web licensing to users who want access or need access to QuoteWerks Web. You don't have to get it for every user, and it uses your existing licensing. If you have additional questions, just contact our QuoteWerks sales team. Be happy to answer any questions you have. Thanks for watching.